As we mentioned Kobe a few times now, we know Kobe dominated the league for a long while and ran the All-Star game for quite a bit. And we have All-Star Weekend upon us right now, and there's been a whole lot of talk just about the selections and whether we should even be playing it and all of that. First, I just want to get straight to the picks that came out. How do you feel about the selections in the East and the West, and do you feel that there were some snubs on either side?
Honestly, I think the selections were pretty good. Like, I think everyone who was selected was worthy of being an all-star. I think there are clear snubs because there's a limited amount of spots, so not everyone is going to be an all-star. So there were other guys that are also worthy that were left off the list.
Let me also say this. Everybody ain't a snub.
Right. Exactly.
A few of y'all are good. We respect y'all. We see y'all rising up the ranks. All of y'all are not snubs.
Just say Christian Wood's name. It's all right.
Some of y'all shouldn't be in this game yet. As fans, maybe because I'm a fan and just from afar, I don't have the right to say that. How do you feel? We see what the product is on the court, and those guys that got selected, from my fan eyes, however you want to label it, I see that they deserve the spot that they got. So yeah, a few guys I saw on social media throwing the little subtweets. Oh, I can't believe it, or whatever. No, you should believe it. That spot was not for you quite yet, though you're on the rise. So yeah, I just had to point that out real quick. But
and because there's so much talent, and I think a point you want to get to is that people have raised potentially opening up like a couple more slots on all-star teams because there is so much talent in the league right now. Guys are going to get left off like every year, and part of it is it's supposed to be the cream of the crop. It's not supposed to be everyone could be an all-star. So by that nature, like, you're gonna have guys that are stars in the league not be an all-star.
That's part of the drama of the league. I know there are money incentives, and some guys you don't want to play with their money and all that. So I get it.
But guys also are talking about not wanting to play the All-Star game at all.
Yeah, so it's like I don't care, but I care. But I want money, but I don't care. Exactly, it's a whole bunch of back and forth. Let's just stick to the court, though. Let's start just with the West. There's a lot of talk about Devin Booker not making the All-Star game. You feel like he was up?
I felt like it was either like you could have one Suns player. I don't think it should have been two. So if you wanted to put Devin Booker in, I think Chris Paul has to be left off.
Why shouldn't it have been two?
I mean, you could argue for it, I guess, because they are, I guess, the four seed in the West. They've been playing very well. I think Chris Paul. Well, you said why should it be two? I just think it's hard to argue, I guess, for multiple All-Stars in the Western Conference for one team that's not like in that top three level. Like, I understand the Jazz having two All-Stars. I understand the Lakers having two All-Stars. I understand the Clippers having two All-Stars. The Suns is like where it's like right there. I don't know. I don't see them really having two All-Stars on this team. I guess you could argue for it, but
if that's the case, do you think Devin should have took the spot instead of Chris Paul?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, that's the like real argument. But I would say that Chris Paul deserved it more because Devin was already on the Suns team, putting up the same numbers that he pretty much is every year. Like, he's always been this talent. But Chris Paul came in and shifted the whole nature of the Phoenix Suns. I think anyone could pretty much say that Chris Paul is the reason why they are the 4 seed in the West right now.
Yeah.
Yes, they brought along a couple other players with Chris Paul, but he shifted, as we've seen him do with the Thunder in the previous year. He shifted that team's whole MO, and they're playing like a well-oiled machine, and he runs the show. He's the point guard as well, too. He's the one setting up Devin and DeAndre Ayton and all those other guys to be better. So I think he raised the floor of that team significantly, and that's why I think I would give the nod to him over Booker. But you could argue for Booker as well, too, because he's been playing so well.
I'm fine with that. Also, maybe as the NBA player president, wherever he is, you kind of get a little boost from the players to get in there. So that's very possible. But also with that last spot, there's also people talking about how last year it was Devin didn't get in because he didn't win. Now he's winning, and now he still didn't get in. Meanwhile, Zion is way below him, but he got it in. How do you feel about Zion getting in over Devin Booker?
I think Zion was a lock. I think you had to have one of. You couldn't have both. Like you couldn't have Zion and Ingram because of how low they are.
Right.
But I think you had to have one of them. Brandon Ingram's doing exactly what he did last year, and he was an all-star. Mm-hmm. And Zion is putting up like 25 and 7.
And looks dominant doing so.
Exactly. He's like a top 15, 20 player in the league.
Yeah.
You had to have one of them. You couldn't have both. And if you're going to pick one, especially because it's an all-star game and you want the more exciting, high-flying player, you're going to pick Zion.
Right.
If people are complaining about Zion being in the league, maybe they should be a fan of a different sport because like Zion is a shoe-in to be an all-star this year.
Yeah. I'm with you. I agree with everything you were saying. I'm just asking because there's people that were asking those same questions online. Yeah. And it was kind of funny to see because I'm like, if you just look at how it all broke down, like it just had to fall that way. And it sucks for Devin Booker because he definitely is a potential superstar talent.
Right.
But you only got so many spots right now, and he couldn't fit in. So I'm dogging the back.
And he probably will be selected by Adam Silver because Anthony Davis is not going to play in this game. So
that was the last part. And while it may suck that he wasn't officially a part of the first 12, when you know there's a guy on that team that's injured and maybe out for part of it, that may be out for that game, and you're going to take the spot, you're going to find your way in. So it shouldn't be too much of a chip on your shoulder for not getting selected. So I think you shouldn't be too mad. To be honest, I could see just as big of an argument for DeMar DeRozan. Some people brought it up, but we talked about last week how much of a surprise that the Spurs were. DeMar has been at the head of that still quietly, as the Spurs do and as DeMar does. DeMar always has been one of the quieter players in this league that still is all-star talent. And has yet another season doing so. That swept under the rug. Yet again. So, I feel like he definitely had a great argument to be in there as well. He, on a squad, as you pointed out, a team that we expected to be at the very bottom of the league, but has turned things around and are at top 6, I believe, at the moment. So, I think he very much.
They don't have any All-Stars, right?
No, the Spurs don't. So I think he had just as much of an argument as Devin did. So, again, it just is what it is. If it expands to 15, like everybody is wishing, I guess, those who definitely would get in. But for now, it just is what it is. Before we go to the East, since I brought it up, what do you think about the idea of the All-Star game expanding to 15 players per conference?
I don't love it because, as I said before, I think it's supposed to be a select group of the cream of the crop. So I think 12 guys from East Conference is solid. At 15, you got a third string of 5 with each team. Like you already got 7 guys on the bench. I think 15 is going to be a little bit too much. I think even if you do extend it to 15, then there's going to be those few guys that feel like they were snubbed still from 15.
Expand it to 18. Expand it to 20. Yeah, no.
Are we talking let's get 18 then after that?
No.
So I think where it's at 12 is good. That's how NBA rosters run too. Like the 12-man roster, you got 15, 3 guys that don't play. But
I'm for 12. 12 is perfect with me. Again, the thought that came to my head. The only reason I could see it changing from 12 to 15 is if they added another team. We talked about expanding the league. If they go to 32 teams and expand the league a little bit more, maybe then you throw in a couple extra spots for the added teams as well to compensate. But for now, with the league as is and how things are continuing to go, 12 is where it's at and where it should continue to be. So it's what it is. And sorry for the guys that are on the outside looking in. So that was on the west side. Now for the east, there were some talks there as well. Sabonis not making it, Vucevic being the one that got in. There are a couple of guys there. How you feel about the East roster?
Yeah, same thing. I felt like the guys that made it were worthy of making it, and the guys that were snubbed also were worthy of making it. I think the right guys for the most part were selected. I definitely could see the argument for Sabonis instead of Vucevic.
I was gonna say he was one that I thought was a clear all-star with his improved play this year. He had more than a few.
It's not even so much that it's improved. He was doing this last year too. He was an all-star last year.
Right, and he continued, and you look like he's even continuing to improve his play even from that. So I thought he would get in for that. But Vucevic getting in and the other guys getting in, it's like, oh, I guess he.
So, like I would say Sabonis over Vucevic just because his team is performing a lot better. Vucevic, the Magic aren't even in the playoffs. Right. At the same time, like I've got Vucevic on my fantasy team. He's been cooking
he's legit. He's legit. It's just people don't really know he's in Orlando right now, but he's legit, very legit.
He's talented and worthy of being an all-star. It's just the team isn't performing. And they've been hit with injuries as well too, pretty significantly. So I understand why they're where they are. Mm-hmm. They might creep back into the playoffs as they have the past few years, slid into that 8 seed as they do. So I'm not mad at it, but I could have seen Sabonis having that spot. The point you mentioned about Trae Young off air, especially with Atlanta being the host for All-Star. You would think that he would kind of get an extra boost there.
I think that's the only little push, though. I think stats wise and all of that, I think he is in that same kind of spot as Devin Booker, though. So I think I wouldn't have put him in either. But yeah, just because it was in Atlanta, he's at least close to All-Star level. That should give him a little push, but I'm fine with it as is. So yeah.
I love that Julius Randle's an all-star. I honestly was like prepared to make the argument that he could have slid into the starters, honestly. And I'm trying to think of who else rounded it out. It's a little bit questionable. We talked about, you asked me why the Suns can't have 2 all-stars, but the Celtics having 2 all-stars when they're under 500 now too.
Right.
But what do you say, Bubs? Sorry, Matt. I'm sorry. Which is another conversation too, because the Eastern Conference, only 4 teams are above 500.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
But yeah, I think Tatum and Brown actually are deserving of the nods, even though the Celtics are below 500 at this point in time. Jalen's averaging 25 points a game. They're both like top 15 in scoring overall in the entire league. And he's been consistent all year. Like the Celtics have their issues, but those two haven't been the main issue there with the Celtics. Those have been the 2 most consistent guys holding them up. Right. So I've seen some people argue why both of them, but I think they were both deserving of the nod, honestly.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, though. The other Celtics, like I do like those 2 and think they deserve to get in. There were a couple other people that were in question, though. Tobias Harris, people were talking about how he felt like he was a snub. The Sixers are very impressive this year, and he's been a large part of that. How do you feel about him not making it?
Honestly, I would argue that he should be in over Ben Simmons. They're on the same team.
Okay.
The same team, and they're the number 1 seed. So you can make an argument that maybe all 3, like Embiid, Simmons, and Tobias, should be in there.
Ben's a star, though. Ben's has though he isn't the shooter. He has the game, the lower end of the game with offense and defense and all that. I think Ben should be in. I think he's a superstar.
He was questionable
alongside Joel on that squad.
He was questionable for me. I wasn't sure if he was going to get in, to be honest. Because I thought guys like Sabonis were going to get in, so I didn't think Ben Simmons was going to be there. But if you look at Tobias's numbers, people haven't really talked about it, but he's been cooking all season as well too. Like he's upped his game significantly.
He definitely solid.
Yeah, I think he's averaging like 21 and 8 or something like that.
No joke.
And he's a major part of the reason why they're number 1 in the East as well too. Ben Simmons, yes, like we understand his talent. He still can't shoot, but he's an like all-league defender. He's averaging 15, 8, and 8, like solid, but like that's not like insane as far as like an all-star.
The numbers are insane, but from watching games, I have watched a few Sixers games. His presence definitely is felt.
Exactly, it's his impact. Like he's Draymond Green, like on steroids, like for the Sixers.
the LeBron type. Everybody thought he was a LeBron as type player, and he's
but he's not. He can't even sniff the scoring ability of LeBron.
I know, but if there's a LeBron light, I guess he is that.
Yeah, they tried to, but he's not. There still is no LeBron comp.
I hear you.
So him making it, I'm not mad at, but I also think Tobias could consider himself a snub as well too, with how well he's been playing and with them being the number 1 seed in the East.
Yeah. They're number 1 seed, so you can see why he would feel that way, as you mentioned, his play and all of that. Someone who another team that is kind of on the opposite end, but is starting to rise up is the Raptors. People talked about guys like Fred VanVleet missing the All-Star game as well. What do you feel about him and Siakam and guys on that squad being left out?
Yeah, they've upped their play significantly. They're up to where I kind of expected them to be preseason in that 6 range, 6-7 range. And I think we kind of expected that. They were sliding in the beginning of the season and started off really poorly, but I think we expected them to kind of round into form. And Siakam playing up to that standard of what we had seen previously. He's upped his game, but I don't think any of them deserved to be all-stars, honestly. Fred VanVleet probably had the biggest case to be one, but no, I don't think this year that any of them have stood out to me like as an all-star personally, which is odd to say with Vucevic being like several spots lower than him in the standings and being an all-star. But I think as a group, they've all been like really solid. It hasn't been like one guy that's kind of like carried them. I think they've all kind of carried each other. So
Right. Yeah. So I think as they're still trying to get right, they just flipped the switch a little bit too late. So VanVleet can make enough of an argument to get in. But as you said, they're turning things around, and I'm glad to see that. Was there anyone else that you think of that could have been in the discussion or not? Me, I kind of want to throw De'Aaron Fox in the pot for the West, but he not quite yet. He's getting there, and definitely does look good. But it still is rising the ranks, especially in the West. They got.
He's an all-star level talent. He just hasn't put the all-star like resume of a season together yet.
Right.
But I think he'll be there very soon.
Yep.
What was I gonna say? I was very happy that Zach LaVine made it. I thought a shoe-in as well too. And I guess you could argue Gordon Hayward, how well he's played this season as well, going to Charlotte.
Yeah.
That he could have an argument for being a snub.
That's what I was going to bring up. It just popped in my head. The guys on the Heat, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. What do you think? I know they've kind of had injuries and things, but what do you think about them not making it?
Right. Yeah. I don't think I would call them snubs. I think had they started winning games a little bit earlier, maybe you could throw one of them in there.
Right.
Jimmy's been playing lights out since he's been back in the lineup, but I think he's missed a little bit too many games. And that was actually something I was going to say about Brooklyn too. I didn't feel that Kevin Durant, as amazing as he's been in the games he has played, I didn't feel that he should be a starter. I feel like he should still be an all-star, but he's missed half their games. And so I felt like because of that, James Harden, his teammate, who's been handling everything essentially, should have got that starting nod over him.
I had the same thought, but it wasn't about KD because though he has missed a few games, when he's in, he looks like the top 2 player in the world still.
He does.
When you look that good, even if you miss games, you still have you show that you deserve an all-star starter spot. What I was going to actually say was because of how they've done it with the point guards and the position assignments and all of that, I would rather put James Harden in above Kyrie is what I was going to say. I would have Kyrie as the first guy off the bench or however you labeled it. But James Harden moving over, and though he had his rocky start, you said it's kind of saying the same thing about Kyrie. They both kind of had rocky starts to the season. Kyrie missing games. James.
Really I wouldn't say that Kyrie was rocky. He just missed a week of of playing. Like he just didn't play 7 straight games,
Sure.
but the games he played, he's been lights out in all of them.
Sure. But just seeing the impact that James has had, and the versatility and how much he controls the offense and all of that for Brooklyn. I think he has shown with all that he's doing for them that he should have been the starter. But either way, I mean, they all three got in. So
we agree. I mean, we agree that James should have been the starter for sure.
Yeah. Just depends on who you want to flip out. So yeah, I think that's all for the All-Stars and their picks.